Okay, so I think that we could start. So I
Okay.
would like to just thank you everyone to be here. As the chair of the action, we are today here for this first webinar of our full action, and it will be related to the grant awarding action that could be applied for all the working group members of our action. So today, Petra Lamesti and Min Gugonsler, the grant awarding coordinator and the co-leader, will explain to you the different tools that we have available in our action, like certain scientific mission, ITC conference grant, etc. So you could see how you could apply, what are the requirements and the evaluation procedure, and also what are the possibilities for this year. We have some cutoff in the coming month, but also for the coming 3 years of the project. So basically, the floor will be for the coordinator and the co-leader, and they will explain to you the different points. You have a question and answer box where you could put there the answer, your question, and at the end of our presentation, we will give you some time for asking all the questions and doubts that you will have. In addition, we are going to compile all the questions apart from recording the webinar, and both sources will be available for you for the 4 years of the project. So you will come back again as much as time as you need for solve your doubts. So now I give the floor to Min and Petra.
Thank you, Almudena, for the introduction. So I'll start sharing my screen and then maybe leave the floor to Petra once I'm done. All right. So hello again, good morning, everyone. I am Mine, the grant awarding co-leader of the Cost LIAISE Action. We are actually working together with Petra here. He's the grant awarding leader. And also we are into close collaboration with Almudena as well, our chair of the action. So this webinar is relevant to our opportunities for grant awarding, and we believe it's going to be the first one, but then we will have further ones maybe later. Today I will first talk about the opportunities and the current calls and how you can submit to those calls. Then Petra will continue on evaluation reporting, and finally we will have the Q&A session. So for any questions regarding these calls, you can contact us through our emails. I wanted to add this because I want all of you to be aware of the fact that we have some cutoffs for the number of awarding opportunities overall. And overall, the cost of the action, we have so many different key activities. And in order to cover all of the MOU tasks, we can also, all of us as the action members can contribute with SDSM's ITC grants, dissemination conferences, etc. So every year we will announce this. This is already announced in the MOU also. And we will actually, we will also one by one keep answering your questions if you would have any. So overall, in the 4-year period, we have 70 STSMs, 16 virtual mobility grants, 16 dissemination conferences, and ITC conference grants with no limited KPIs. So this will also eventually depend on the availability of the budget. So there is the right to reserve to reduce the amount of the budget, or we can also increase the number of STSMs depending on the availability. So, but overall, in general, this was the first aim of the cost action. So again, in the second management committee, we've also discussed this. This is very similar to what I have presented previously, but just to wrap up, and for the ones who weren't in the meeting, the first thing that comes to mind is the short-term scientific missions. So these are grants for researchers or innovators to visit a host organization in a different country than theirs, their own affiliation. So this is important. In this stay, the minimum duration is 5 days and the maximum is 6 months. And the maximum budget is 4,000 euros. However, 4,000 is usually too much, and because the short-term scientific missions are usually between a week to 1 month, and in order to deliver more number of STSMs, you can consider having short-term stays so that you can cover what you want to do in that short period, so everyone can benefit from this grant. In order for this mission to start, you have to find a host in that other country that you want to carry out your research in. I will also show you how you can apply for this grant. So the next one is ITC Conferences or Near Neighbor Countries Conference Grant. Here we have a limit. We've also discussed this with in the management committee meeting. There is this limit for the age, because this conference grant is actually relevant to young researchers, and it's for young researchers to present their work at high-level conferences. And a young researcher is defined as someone below the age of 40. So this is what we need to consider while you apply and we evaluate as the grant awarding leaders. So this grant provides financial support for travel, accommodation, substances, registration fees, printing of scientific posters, etc. You can receive up to 2,000 euros for face-to-face conferences and 500 euros for virtual conferences. And the conference that, you have to be from an ITC country, and these countries are actually listed in the cost annotated rules as well. You can also check it out from there, or the participation should be in a near neighbor country, so that you wouldn't have to spend a lot of money for your travel. Another opportunity is virtual mobility grants. This also involves collaboration in a virtual setting to exchange knowledge and maybe learn new techniques, or again contribute to one of the tasks that are listed under the MOU. So it may include surveys, questionnaires, or preparation of some protocols. Anything that you can contribute to research virtually can be applied. So you can receive up to 1,500 euros per grant for this mobility action. And also there's another type of grants availability called dissemination conferences. So this is a special type of conference type, and not very applicable to all cost action members. It is applicable, but it should be the conference should be represented in a really high level one, and usually it is for oral presentations. So the evaluation criteria is a little bit higher on this in those kind of conferences. So all these opportunities are found under the e-cost system. In order to make submissions, first you have to follow you have to follow our announcements regarding the cutoff dates. But usually calls are open, but the evaluations are made according to cutoff dates. But we also announce these. Petra will talk about them in more detail. But overall, the applications are open throughout the year, and these could be done through the ecosystem. Anything you would need to submit is also listed there. And in order for you to complete your submission, you have to provide all the documents necessary. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to submit anyhow. So what we suggest is, in order to be evaluated first with transparency and also in a more scientific way, we suggest that you actually show the alignment of the research to the tasks of the MOU or outputs of the MOU. So it is really important for us to see your referral to the LIAISE MOU, so that we make sure you're actually covering the outcomes of the action with what you're going to conduct, where you go in the maybe in the conference with your presentation, or in the short-term scientific mission. So we can also see the outputs that you're contributing to. What you can use is already found in the system. The templates are there when you go to the grant applications. When you enter the grant applications page, under grant applications, you see the type of application that is available. And then when you apply for a grant from here, from the web page, you will also have the possibility to access to the documents that you need to fill down. So basically, all of the forms are very similar, but the requirements are different for each type of grant. So you start with the duration of this STSM, or the virtual mobility, or the conference details, and you start talking about what you're going to do. For instance, for the STSM, you describe your goals. Again, here you can describe you can refer to the MOU and how you would contribute. The working plan is what you actually would be doing in that host institution that you will visit, and your expected outputs. Here, maybe your contribution can be stated by also referring to the specific tasks and deliverables from the MOU. For the virtual plan, virtual mobility grant, again, it's similar in a manner, but you have to also describe more details about the participation of other partners, and how you will conduct this virtual mobility actually. And then for the ITC grant, what is important is your presentation, either oral or poster. This should have the official acceptance letter, and then you describe all these accepted contribution details and relevance of the conference topic to the action. And finally, what you're expecting to deliver to the audience that you would be contributing in the seminar or conference should be indicated here. So once all is set, you submit your documents. Also, one more thing I forgot, sorry. In the short-term scientific mission, maybe Petra will also mention, but you need to have a host agreement document from your host indicating that they will have the available infrastructure or availability to host you throughout the period where you will be conducting your research. Also should be uploaded to the system. So once you're done, we will start the evaluation process with Petra Almudena and I, and Petra will continue how we conduct this. So Petra, do you want me to stop screen sharing? And
yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Mina. I will.
Thank you. All right.
I don't know if you can see the presentation.
Yes, but it's not full screen.
Yeah.
I guess there was a slideshow on the right bottom.
Oh, this one.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now
Okay,
it's work.
so the evaluation process. Once you submit the grant application on the ecosystem, we receive a notification that submission is there and that we need to evaluate it. Because we expect a lot of submissions, we have several cutoff dates. That means that within a cutoff date, all of the submissions will be graded and evaluated, because there is a limited budget for STSMs, for ITC grants, for virtual mobility grants. We will evaluate them, and based on the evaluation, based on the criteria that is already given in the call, we're going to decide which of those submissions will be funded by the cost action. Important thing is that you need to plan accordingly. If there is a cutoff date, let's say 15th of June, that means that your STSM, for example, should be at least in July or August or even September. It doesn't matter when it is, but you need to submit it then so that you get a notification early if the grant is approved or not. And then after evaluation, you will receive the decision, and we will do our best to give pre-approval or a dismissal of the grants within 15 days after the cutoff date. So you submit the application to the eCost portal, and the people who are evaluating is me, Mine, and Almudena initially. And additionally, we will consult the working group leaders if there is some need from the working groups for the deliverables or for the outcomes for STSMs. So this whole process will be transparent, and all of the reporting will then be submitted to the MC meetings for approval. So everything will be done in a transparent way. All of the STSMs and the grants will be then reported, and the decision criteria will be also transparent, and we will give a report on that one too. It is a possibility that we will sometimes reduce the budget for the STSM. For example, you should orient your budget request based on the actual cost of stay in the country and the cost required to sustain yourself in the country that you are visiting, and on top of that include the travel money that is needed. The budget for STSMs and for stay are not intended as a pay, but they are intended as a travel and sustenance money. You can orient yourself for shorter stays in the cost prices per day that are the cost allowance per day document. For each country it is different, and for shorter STSM stays we will usually cap it on that one. For longer stays, as you see, you can even have a 6-month stay. The cap is already 4,000 euros. That means that this money is intended to support you, but not always pay the full costs for the stay where you are doing the short-term scientific mission. The eligibility criteria is available in the general rules. There is this document, annotated rules of cost, and you need to have an appropriate affiliation, but this is very flexible. Anyone and everyone can apply for an STSM, for example. There is a limitation on the ITC conference grants that Mine already mentioned, but for STSM it doesn't matter. You can be a senior researcher and you can use the STSM as funding to visit another colleague in order to perform some joint work in the interest of the action. It is very important, and we will closely evaluate this. We will deny STSM virtual mobility applications that are not related to the outcomes and the goals of the action. In my experience, these come infrequently, but usually we have these types of applications. So make sure that whatever you apply for is related closely to the outcomes of the application, of the action, pardon. For ITC conference grants, you need to be in an inclusiveness target country or a near neighbor country. They're usually intended for EU member states, states outermost regions, full members that are not EU member states, and near neighboring countries. We will also keep close eye on the eligibility criteria for the ITC conference grants. So make sure you supply some information that you are eligible when you are applying as an additional document. And also, and this is very important, make sure that you give attribution to the action for the funding. There is a document on how to attribute, how to give acknowledgement to the action. And please review this document. You need to include the logo of the action and the logo of cost organization inside the presentation. You need to give attribution in the paper to the action, etc. Make sure you do this, because we will need to, after you receive the conference grant, after you receive confirmation that you will receive the conference grant and you go to the conference, present your work there, then you will need to submit a report, and this report needs to include a proof that you have done this properly, so that in the end you receive the funding. So these are the states that are included. We have the full member states, EU member states, outermost regions, and NNCs. So these are the countries that are eligible. There is also a list of these in the annotated rules and on the cost webpage. So make sure that your affiliation is in these countries when you apply. So for the flow, first, before you apply, you need to submit as a proof that the paper is accepted or that the poster is accepted. And this also, you need to submit maybe the schedule of the conference agenda, where the publication and the presentation is listed. Again, I will repeat this. You must acknowledge cost to receive the money in the end. We will monitor this closely. And also any activity, STSM, ITC conference grant, and virtual mobility need to end in the current grant period. It is preferred that you attend European conference. We can consider other conferences anywhere in the world, but we will always give some sort of priority to European conferences. Thank you. The evaluation criteria are defined in the calls. So for the STSMs, 15% is benefits of the STSM for the applicant, 15% suitability of the application to work plan objectives, 15% quality and feasibility of the planned outcomes, 15% quality and feasibility of the work plan, and 40% appropriateness of the STSM for the selected working group objectives and of the action objectives. For ITC conference grants, if the contribution is an oral presentation, 15%, 10% diversity, 25% conference ranking, and 50% the quality and relevance of the publication or presentation. For virtual mobility grants, benefits of the VMG for the applicant and the cost LIAISE objectives, 15%, suitability of the applicant's scientific background for the work plan objectives, 15%, members from different countries involved in plan for participation, 30%, and appropriateness of the VMG objectives for the selected working group and objectives, 40%. So when you're doing a virtual mobility grant, it is a mobility, although it is virtual. In your work, you need to involve as many participants from the actions from as many different countries as possible. And as you can see, this gives 30% in the evaluation, 30% in the evaluation criteria. For the reporting and reimbursement, there is a reporting template that you need to fill and you need to upload. There is a difference, I think, for the ITC conference, where you need to also submit the presentation, the full paper that was accepted in the end, etc., after you go to the conference and present them. We will also need something additional for the dissemination and communication. That means it is preferable if you also send us, you don't necessarily need to submit it. For the virtual mobility, some screenshots of the online meetings that you performed. For the certain scientific missions, maybe some pictures of your visit, and for ITC conference grants, preferably a picture of you presenting on the conference that will include the action and the cost logo somehow in the background. This is for the purposes of dissemination and communication, and it is a nice thing to have. The payments and the reimbursement. There is a deadline to submit the report, which is 30 days from the end of the activity. After that, we will evaluate the report, and if approved, the grant holder and the grant awarding coordinator will receive a request to submit the payment. So first, the report needs to be approved, and then there is a payment. All of the reports are approved by the MC. In our case, the approval is delegated to the grant awarding committee. If the report is rejected, it will need to be amended according to the recommendations that the grant awarding committee will give. And if there is a if it's continuously rejected, there is a risk of not receiving payment. Payments are done by the grant holder, and the applicant will receive a notification. The cost system is very nice on this. You will receive a notification at any step of the way. When the submission is done, if it is done in appropriate time before the deadline, we might even go through them, and you will receive a notification if the submission that you have done for the application is not complete. But there are a lot of instances in my experience where people upload the same document twice for different types of documents needed. So this is like, I would say, honest mistake. So we will just return it, and you will need to resubmit it with complete documents. This is if we see it before the end date of the submission. After it, you will not be able to resubmit it. The current calls, the current cutoff day is in a short time, 15th of June 2024. So if you have, there are still 3 STSMs left for this grant period, 1 ITC, and virtual mobilities will be continuously open for submissions. And for virtual mobilities especially, we will coordinate closely with the working group members and the working group leaders, so that they are directed to more closely to the objectives of the action. They are normally open for everybody all the time. So if you have an idea for a virtual mobility, feel free to send a submission. It will always depend on the quality of the submissions. If there are very high quality submissions, let's say by this cutoff date, we might end up spending all of the budget. So even if you have a planned STSM after 15th of August, feel free to submit now. We are not limited to the next cutoff date. The STSM does not need to be between 15th of June and the 15th of August, but we are limited to the grant period. So the STSM or the ITC needs to finish by the end of the grant period. If you have a planned short-term scientific mission that it will be September or October before the end of the grant period, you can still submit by the 15th of June. We have included useful links in this presentation, the annotated rules for cost, grant awarding user guide. This is what we also follow. There is an application link and a link to the open calls. The application link leads directly to the ecosystem where you can directly submit your application if you have created already a user profile on the ecosystem. If not, you will need to first create, and then you can apply using that application link. Okay, I think this is pretty much it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mina and Peter, for the presentation. I think it was very interesting, and you cover all the points that are asking by people. Anyway, we have several questions, so let's go one by one. I will give you the question, and then I will give you the floor to answer. The first question is by Alexander Erstek. He asks if I am preparing the application for a virtual mobility for the cutoff of June, my mobility date should be from July or later.
Yeah, this could be any time.
Unfortunately, that mobility needs to be after the cutoff date and plan accordingly for the decision. It can be, I mean, technically we can approve backwards if there is an STSM in May, but you're risking not receiving any grant for it.
But for virtual mobility, since there are no cutoff dates, I guess it could be any time, right?
Yes, yes.
And also Alexander has another question. I just saw it and tried to check the annotated rules. And I didn't see any limits for the duration for virtual mobility. I don't know, maybe Petra, do you have?
Yeah,
I don't remember seeing any.
Yeah, I think there are no specified durations for virtual mobility because it may last, the surveys, for instance, may last longer.
For this kind of mobilities, the virtual one, you have to think that the money that you will save will be always less money because you don't have this expensive for the daily allowance, the flight, and all the travel arrangements. So based on that could last more time, but of course you have to think that the money will be less. Another question is the other question is from Ina Kesim. She mentioned that she applied or she submit a mobility, or sorry, an application already the 2nd of May, but she is still waiting for the status of the application submitted. It's an ITC grant, so they want to know when she will have the feedback of this application.
Between 15th of June and 30th of June. We will evaluate all after that cutoff date.
You have to think in it that as they explained during the presentation, from one cutoff to the other, we don't evaluate them. So as the first cutoff was in April, we evaluate until the 3rd of April, and now you have to wait until June. There is another question from Irina Cela that she mentioned, or she asked, it is possible to be more precise about the ETCs that we can apply for? I'm referring to the high-level conference. Are they referring only to activities organized within LIAISE COST?
No, ITC conference grants can be used for any conference that is related to the theme of the action. For example, if the theme of the conference is closely related to the action and your publication is related to the action, then you can apply for ITC conference grant. But if it's, let's say, I don't know, some data science conference and your publication is related to strictly some data science and not related to thematic of the action, then you can't apply. I mean, you can apply, but you will be rejected because that conference and that publication is irrelevant to the action.
Also, an extra comment on that, ITC conference grants are for people that came or it's from ITC countries. So in the case of Irina, she's from Spain, she couldn't apply to this specific one, if I'm not wrong. Another question from her is, there's any list of potential locations to contact for certain scientific missions?
No, we've actually discussed this in the core group meeting. So we may have a list later and asking the working group leaders for the next year. But currently, you can actually, you have to find the host yourself. But you can first maybe contact working group leaders, or you can also consult the COST LIAISE Action website to check who are actually present in the working groups as members. So you can get in touch with any of them.
Just please also make sure you receive some official document from the host institution that clearly states the dates of the stay where you're invited to stay there. And preferably, and I think there was this rule, it needs to be from some senior scientist, at least from that institution that you're receiving the invitation to visit. Otherwise, it's pretty much flexible as long as it is related to the action and you are performing some sort of a research with the host.
Also, you have the working groups list of members. So in case that you know exactly what topic would you like to cover in the shortest scientific mission, you could send an email to people to say that you are looking for a host. And also it's important in this sense as well to remark that there is no need to go for another working group member or a cost action member. So in case that you find another institution that it will be in line with our topic, you could go to them, because the only requirement in this sense is that the applicant will be a working group member of our action, but the host action is not to be a member of the cost action. In case of some of our questions will not solve your doubt, you could ask again or whatever. Another question for Alexander. In the virtual mobility application, under indicative list of participants in the collaborative initiative, how deep should we go into their expertise and their involvement?
The indicative list of people who will be involved in the virtual mobility.
Yeah, you want to know if they have to put how many information about the expertise and the involvement of each of these participants.
In the application, I think that you don't need to go into many details on that, because it's a virtual mobility. You already have a planned work that everybody will perform. It is important to state briefly what they will do, and maybe a sentence or two, and it is important to list their affiliation and their country, so that we know that people from multiple countries are involved there.
Thank you, Pedro. There is another question from Lena. Do only LIAISE members can apply, or also other staff of participants in member organizations?
Everybody can apply. You don't need to be a member of the action to apply for the grants. So if you have a student, a researcher in your department, they can also apply for an STSM ITC conference grant, as long as they are eligible. For STSMs, they will probably be eligible. For ITC conference grant, you need to be in the ITC, and also you need to be below 40 or below.
Yes, we approved this in the MC meeting, actually.
Ezra asked if ITC conference is only for younger than 30 years old, so you even
Yes.
replied to that. And another question also related is, can my PhD student apply without being a member of this cost action? The paper is on the topic of the cost action. Yeah, because we just replied to this question. Another question is about merit. What about training school? Can they be organized in 2 neighboring countries? Ground amount, limits?
For the training schools, we will organize them when the time comes. They can be organized I think they can be organized in the neighboring countries. We'll need to double check that. The thing is about the receiving of the local organizer support. Inclusiveness target countries can organize them, European countries, EU countries, all of them. I think we can do it, but there is a thing that we'll need to double check about the local organizer support. There is an institution or a person that will need to receive the local organizer support in order to organize everything on the premises. Yeah.
Thank you. Regarding the training school, also to mention that this year there is no budget for that. So in order to not disturb people with more different action and networking tool, we decided to not put in this workshop. But anyway, for the next year, the second grant period that they will be already training school, we will do only a webinar regarding that. But in case that you have more question on that because you want to plan in advance or whatever, you could contact us directly by email. We will solve this kind of question regarding training by email. That could be better. Another question it's about the virtual mobility again for the reporting. What kind of evidence are needed? A screenshot from meetings, etc.
Yes, in the reporting, the only thing that is required actually is the report, but it is good if we have several screenshots of the meeting as some proof of work, and it will be nice to have it for, as I said, dissemination and communication. Everybody who will receive a grant, we will ask to give a presentation within the action, write an article about their experiences so that we can disseminate and communicate the results of the action easier. But I think it won't be a problem to get several screenshots of the meetings. Also, from virtual mobility, we will also perform some work and the results will be visible.
In general, as much evidence as you provide, better, easier will be the approval of the report. So if you have a screenshot, recording, even photograph or video if you are in person, please upload everything. That will be easy for us to check and to prove that you have done the work promised. There is another question from ITC. If we apply for an action, ITC to be held in September and organized within LIAISE project, should we ask for the grant before the 14th of June?
Yes.
They mentioned these cutoffs are like some limited to try to evaluate different same action at the same time. So in this sense, the money is limited. So as soon as you provide your application, more possibilities you have to be granted, because you have to think also that probably according to the number of applications that we already had for the cutoff of June, probably we couldn't have more money for the cutoff of August. So based on that, as soon as better for this year and for the coming ones. Also, there is another question from Besa Sahini. She said, the output of the short-term scientific mission will be a report, of course, but what exactly will be the output? A publication, a workshop, a lecture, or just a research?
Anything. Publication is not a very easy one, of course, but you start maybe creating the roadmap, you edit there, and it is always nice to again show your alignment with the MOU and tasks and deliverables. You can say that we started drafting this survey, for instance, to cover the deliverable from 4.1, for instance. This is also an output, so you don't necessarily have to have concrete outcomes, but you can just tell us that you initiated something, and this will maybe in a year will be a publication. So this is also a nice output.
Yes, just to add here, as Mina said, it is not expected that you will finish all of the work while you're at the STSM stay. It is expected that some of the work will be taken home and that you will continue to collaborate later online. Having a publication as an outcome of an STSM is, I would say, advisable. It will be very nice. It will look good for the action also. There is also this grants for open access publication. I don't know if they still exist. It reduces the number of countries if it's through the work of an STSM, the required number of countries participating by one. And it can be some work in progress there. The only thing evaluated, honestly, will be the report. Screenshots, pictures, stuff like that will be needed for STSM for dissemination and communication purposes. But even better if we have a publication at the end of an STSM. Because the STSMs are shorter than the time needed to prepare the publication, we can't really require a publication after the STSM because it's infeasible. We won't be able to get the publication done on time before sometimes even the grant period ending.
There is another question regarding the ITC grant and the application for the conference. If I have a feedback from a conference in which our proposal is conditionally accepted, meaning the reviewers act to make some improvement, can the decision later of this conditional approval be considered valuable to apply for the ITC grant?
I would
That's
say
a good
no,
question.
but I'm not sure. Yeah, I was thinking the same. I would say no. Yeah, there is a potential to be accepted, but I guess we need the final acceptance. But maybe
Thing is that we need to make sure it's accepted and that you go to that conference, because if we allow it, you'll be spending one slot for the ITC conference grants that could have gone to somebody who has accepted publication. So the answer would be no.
Thank you. I think it's a pity, but the reality is that we have to be sure that you are going to finally implement the action or the objectives of the grant. So yeah, doesn't matter. There is a person, Angel Marcos, we has the hand on, but I don't know if it's Ron or he want to speak. So I allow you to speak in case that you have not written it.
I think I have raised my hand. Sorry, it has been a mistake.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry. I misclicked the button.
Don't worry, just to be sure that you don't want to ask something.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, so I think there is no more questions. At least someone just appeared in the chat. But in general, I think that you provide different situation questions and issues that you are concerned on about the different grants that we have in our cost action this year and the following one. We are going to compiling a document all these questions, so you will receive this question reply also in a Word document. And in case that after checking that or even watch again the webinar, you continue having any question, you could contact me and the grant awarding coordinator and the co-leader to ask all these kind of questions. At the moment, just please don't forget that the next cutoff is the 15th of June. So you have around 15 days to profit and to try to think about apply for any of the different options that you have. And I just want to thank you to Minnie and to Peter for this interesting webinar and all of you for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for the invitation and organization to Leonardo and Anissa as well. Thanks.
Okay. So thank you to all of you, and we are in contact. Have a nice day. Bye.